Okay, and what's up? Beep, 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 beep. We interrupt your usual programming for a important news bulletin. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do.
Good news! Psychedelics work. Bad news! Psychedelics work and might not be profitable for big pharma, so it might be years before we see the results. Is that right? Crowfart. I don't think it's possible for one man to love 4.5 million people more than I love you. Let's get on this journey of awakening together. If you're in the UK between January and May, come see me prancing about, talking about life and God and spirituality and politics. There's a link in the description if you fancy it. In the meantime, let's understand how Big Pharma operates. Recent research suggests that psychedelics has a profound positive impact on mental health. The problem is that Big Pharma aren't interested in developing drugs that may cure illnesses because it eats into their profits. There's a fundamental problem that Big Pharma has to face, that health is an ethical and moral issue, and the pharmaceutical industry is the pharmaceutical industry, and they have to make money. They have to treat human beings as markets. Let's have a look at this story around psychedelics, see what's true, see where the complexity and contradictions come with such an issue. This is by Rick Doblin, founder and executive director of the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies. Survivors of PTSD may struggle to stay connected in their work, families, and communities. They often live with symptoms like insomnia, hypervigilance, and isolation. These commonly lead to substance use disorder, depression, chronic pain, or heart problems. Yet most of the available treatments provide symptom relief for only about half of the people with the diagnosis, with even fewer people experiencing remission. Do you see sometimes like emergent paradigms, like say with Afghanistan, the aim is not to win the war, the aim is to sustain the war. With mental health, the aim is not to win the war or solve the problem, it's to sustain the problem. Again, this is an economically underwritten system. If what you need to do is glean profit from markets, you don't want to solve a problem. You know about built-in obsolescence. You know, if you sell people a washing machine and that's it, they've got a washing machine forever, you just killed a customer. In May 2021, Nature Medicine published the results of the most advanced trial of psychedelic therapy to date. In our phase 3 trial of MDMA-assisted therapy for PTSD, 88% of participants who received MDMA in conjunction with trauma-focused therapy experienced a clinically significant reduction in symptoms. I've had a lot of mental health problems over the course of my life. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to worry you. But like, wouldn't you like that? 67% reduction in symptoms. Participants no longer met criteria for a PTSD diagnosis, which is another way of saying it cured them. Many participants reported MDMA-assisted therapy helped them address the root cause of their trauma for the first time. Well, isn't that amazing? My own therapeutic journey, albeit a 12-step one, which means it's, psychotherapeutic and support group oriented as opposed to bloody pharmacological necessarily, because it's abstinence-based in my case, deals though with the same principle. What's caused this? Why do you need to eat that much food, watch that much porn, have that much sex, take that much crack, heroin, drink that much booze? What is it? What is it you're trying to deal with? If you don't ever deal with that, and people don't generally want to deal with it because it's hard as the individual, and as a system, you don't want to deal with that because people are bloody good consumers when they're addicts, because you're always looking for, what am I going to do? Subscribe to more channels. All right, I'll subscribe to Disney. All right, I'll subscribe to Stars. There's a Beatles documentary. All right, I'll subscribe to that. I'm subscribing to everything. I'm smart. Covered in subscriptions. Ketamine studies have shown promise for chronic suicidal tendencies, PTSD symptoms, and depression. Legal ketamine clinics, which pair therapy with the drug, can play a key role in maximizing the benefits and reducing the risks of the psychedelic experience. Psilocybin-assisted therapy is a breakthrough therapy for depression. Ibogaine may be an effective treatment for opioid use disorder. I don't know if any of you followed Daniel Pinchbeck and his books, Breaking Open the Head and 2012 and all this. He wrote a lot about these various psychedelic therapies, although they weren't really thought of as therapies then. They were thought of as sort of shamanic experiences. And it stands to reason, doesn't it, that cultures that use plant medicines in order to maintain and create a connection with the sacred are healthier than cultures like ours, where we are given self-subscribed placebos in order to medicate the lack or absence of sacredness and meaning. TV screens, magazines, caffeine, all these things we treat ourselves with in order to prevent ourselves, anesthetize ourselves, distract ourselves from the fact that we're not able to have a sacred, sublime experience anymore. So it's no surprise that psychedelics that can access aspects of your dormant consciousness, awaken them and switch them on, are having a profound curative effect. In fact, 4 separate systematic reviews have been published this year highlighting the potential of psychedelic-assisted therapies for those conditions and more. End-of-life care, brain injury, neurodegenerative disorders, mood disorders, smoking cessation, and addiction or dependence. Dozens of studies make a compelling case for rapid expansion of research into psychedelic-assisted therapies for serious mental health conditions. I reckon this is true, I feel that this is one of those stories that if we were to explore it in good faith, if the intention were, how do we make the world beautiful? How do we make people happy? How do we create good communication? The problem is that our media is so full of bad faith and disingenuous tripe that you forget it's possible to have a conversation that's actually sort of pragmatic. Like, oh, wow, psychedelics work. Why don't we explore that? Oh, wow, people don't communicate properly. Could we create forums and spaces where people with different views could come in? There's no intention. Everything that seems like an error and a mistake is, in fact, the system doing what it's supposed to do, as we're fond of saying here. It's not a bug, it's a feature. Oh, that's weird. This drug keeps people addicted to it forever and never provides a solution. Well, that would be quite good, I suppose, if you were seeking to make a profit from that drug. I mean, geez, is that right even to think of it in those terms? That's how it works, isn't it? Evidence indicates that psychedelic use is associated with pro-social personal growth benefits, including increased nature-relatedness, potentiating conflict resolution, and sustaining compassion among first responders. Indigenous communities around the globe have used psychedelics in spiritual ceremony and healing for millennia. This is where one of our cultural myths, the myth of progressivism, gets in our bloody way. We always think, no, but look how great society is. We've got all this stuff. It's brilliant. How do you feel inside? Well, like I'm in my own life out of sheer misery and a total lack of meaning. Yeah. So overall, then, is it great? Jeff Bezos has got a cock rocket. Is it helping you? No. There's more than one way to measure progression and more than one way to measure a cock rocket. Conversely, the well-documented devastation of the war on drugs has been responsible for untold trauma. But is the legalization and regulation of all substances reversing the course on the war on drugs too dangerous? Simply no. It's more dangerous not to. That war on drugs was bloody stupid. You can't just tell people not to do the thing they've discovered in order to solve the problems. How about deal with the problems? It's costly and expensive and it disrupts the interest of the powerful. So just punish the people at the end of the chain that are taking drugs in order to cope. Far better to investigate the true value of psychedelics. Decades of research and far more extensive use outside clinical settings demonstrate that the risks of drugs for most people are generally short-term and manageable through compassionate risk reduction measures. For those who become dependent on drugs, treatment on demand is a more effective intervention than criminalization. People who are most marginalized by society are often those who are most traumatized, have least access to diagnosis, and even less access to adequate treatment. We envision a day when psychedelics will be more than a last-ditch treatment. They will be a catalyst for mass mental health. Of course, the problem will be that if you grant people access to processes, whether they're therapeutic in a psychedelic way or merely in a behavioral, cognitive way, people will begin to awaken. And healthy people don't want to participate in sick systems. Sick people will participate in sick systems. It resonates with them. The emotions that we feel, if we see them mirrored through our systems, we're like, oh, yeah, I feel angry and disenfranchised and pissed off and alone. Once people start awakening, going, oh my God, the world's beautiful. I'm only here for a short while. It's important that I spend my time being filled with love and finding purpose and mission and joy and glory. Like, that's not the description of a good consumer. So I'm not suggesting that these are the explicit directives of the systems that dominate our consciousness and govern our lives, but that is the implicit agenda. You can't awaken people because awoken people don't cooperate.
think the audio was up there, so yeah, that was just a little bulletin to get that info out. So much peace to everybody. Stay good. Thanks for coming in, and stay tuned for talking trichomes in a little bit. Couple of much peace.